Poems to the Filipino Youth of Dr. Jose Rizal. Hold high the brow serene, O youth, where now you stand. Let the bright sheen of your grace be seen. Fair hope of my fatherland, come now, thou genius grand, and bring down inspiration with thy mighty hand. Swifter than the wind's violation, raise the eager mind to higher station. Come down with blessing light of art and science to the fight. O youth and their anti, the chains that heavy lie, your spirit free to blight. See how in flaming zone, amid the shadows thrown, the Spaniard's holy hand, a crown's resplendent band, proffers to this Indian land. Thou, who now wouldest rise on wings of rich emprise, seeking from Olympian skies songs of sweetest strain, softer than ambrosial rain. Thou, whose voice divine rivals Philomel's refrain, and with varied line, through the night benign, frees mortality from pain. Thou, who by sharp strife wakest thy mind to life, and the memory bright of thy genius light makest important in its strength, and thou, in accents clear, of Phoebus to Apelles dear, or by the brush magic art, takest from nature's store a part, to fake it on the simple canvas land. Go forth, and then the sacred fire of thy genius to the laurel may aspire, to spread around the fame, and in victory acclaim, through wider spheres the human name. They, O happy day, fear Filipinas for thy land, so bless the power today that places in that way this favor and this fortune grand. To the Filipino Youth, sa Kabataang Pilipino, and La Juventud Filipina. Brief history and origin of the Filipino Youth. The poem was originally written in Spanish language with the title La Juventud Filipina. La Juventud Filipina was written by Rizal when he was only 18 years old, and was dedicated to the Filipino youth, which is described as the fair hope of my motherland. In the poem, Rizal praises and the benefits that Spain had bestowed upon the Philippines. Rizal had frequently depicted the renewed Spanish explorers, generals and kings in the most patriotic manner. He had pictured brought to the Philippines by Spain as a breath of life-stealing charming virtue. He had written in one of his Spanish teachers a having brought the light of this internal splendor. In this poem, however, it is the Filipino youth who are its protagonists, whose prodigious genius, making use of the education to build the future, was the Bella Esperanza de la Patria Mea, a beautiful hope of motherland. Spain with fierce and wise hand offered a crown's resplendent bond, offers to the sons of this angel land. Some literary terms characteristic of the works of Jose de Espresenda can be observed throughout the poem, such as Teresa Frente or Amante Angelo, that appeared originally in the Canto 2, A Teresa of Espresenda. The poem was presented in 1879 in Manila at the literary contest held in the Liceo Artístico Literario de Manila, Manila Lyceum of Art and Literature, a society of literary men and artists, where he won the first prize, composed of a feather-shaped silver pen and a diploma. The poem has been translated to Tagalog by several authors. Early in the 20th century, the American translator Charles Derbyshire, whose English translation of Rizal's Mi Ultimo Adios is the most popular and most often recited version, translated the poem, but the translation contained flaws, as can be seen for example in the 5th line, where he translates Bella Esperanza de la Patria Mea as fair hope of my fatherland. Alfredo S. Veloso made a translation of the poem into English, Philippine national artist Nick Joaquin also translated the poem. The Artistic Literary Lyceum of Manila in 1879 held a literary contest that offered a prize for the best poem. When this event happened, Rizal was only 18 years old. He submitted his poem entitled La Juventud Filipina. The board of judges, composed of Spaniards, was astounded by Rizal's poem and awarded him first prize, which consisted of a silver pen, feather-shaped and condecorated with gold, and diploma. Rizal was congratulated by the Jesuits, especially his former professor in Ateneo, friends, and family. In a classic Philippine literature because it was the first Spanish poem written by a Filipino and was recognized by Spanish literary authority. Another reason is that it expresses that the Filipinos were the fair of hope of the fatherland and not the Spaniard.
When was it published?
La Juventud Filipina, English translation to the Filipino Youth in Tagalog sa Kabataang Pilipino, is a poem written in Spanish by Filipino writer and patriot Jose Rizal, first presented in 1879 in Manila, while he was studying at the University of Santo Tomas. La Juventud Filipina was written by Rizal when he was only 18 years old, and was dedicated to the Filipino youth, which he described as the fair hope of a motherland.
Where was it written and published?
It is written and published at Manila. Rizal wrote this literary poem when he was still studying at the University of Santo Tomas. Rizal submitted this piece for a poem contest organized for Filipino by the Manila Lyceum of Art and Literature.
What is the purpose and intention of Dr. Jose Rizal in writing to the Filipino youth?
Jose Rizal composed the poem to the Filipino youth, dedicating to the youth of the Philippines. He wanted the Filipino youth to use their capabilities, talents, and skills to stand out not only for their own praise and success, but also for the praise and success of their own motherland, the Philippines.
To whom or for whom was the Filipino youth dedicated?
To the Filipino youth, Rizal wanted to challenge the youth to study, to unleash the capacity of potential of every individual. Believing that kabataan ang pag-asa ng bayan, that youth, the fair hope of our motherland, should be able to think and act independently, seek solution from within themselves, and not ask silly question in a forum for the betterment of the country.
What are the signs of noteworthy values and lessons taught or embedded into the Filipino youth?
Education isn't just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's also about life, citizenship, and the value of being good person. And when schools teach these things, the child's world and perhaps the worlds around us, we need values to build a moral upright society that will in turn contribute to healthy relationship and help to form our emotional identities with care and encourage. Both the home and school are responsible for including core moral values such as respect, responsible, fairness, truthworthiness, and citizenship. We need to start early with the young because we continue to hear about behavior disorder, increased violence and crime activities by and among the young with willful shame. Yes, we have moral studies as a school subject, but does a study lead to character education in application? Judging from frequent report of behavior disorders among the young, bullying, harassment, self-confidenceness, violence, suicides, and hate groups. And having looked at some research in the area informed me that in many school systems, children today are not being taught the simple values or virtue that are parcel of character education. Researchers and educators alike have found that character education can be incorporated in many school subjects, such as a social studies, history, physical education, and arts, especially literature. Through the literature, young people in school can be taught to be more sensitive and tolerant of otherness, to stand up for justice, and simply to be more humanely wholesome and responsible member of society. The ministry in its wisdom in belief to select literary texts that embody values which student can emulate to do the national proud. This only if the students are guided to recognize and extract the value that life embedded within the text and relate this to their own life experience. It means we have to think, teach, who will be quick to utilize literature and literature-related experiential activities expose, involve, and arouse its students appropriate character traits similar to those identified in their reading and literary text.
Are there controversies or issues to the Filipino youth?
The Filipino youth today faces a myriad of issues that needs to be addressed at the grassroots level. Poverty, lack of education, drug or substance abuse, vice, crime, unemployment are among the many problems that continue to batter them. Likewise, recent issues on the rising number of street children and urban center, child abuse, forced labor, and pedophilia are quite alarming, aggravating the plight of the youth. As an immediate step towards a long-range action plan for them, there is a need to establish an integrated youth center into the 15 regions of the country. These youth centers are envisioned as halfway houses and or transit shelter, lodging facilities with a skills and training center to cater to the youth and difficult circumstances who are in need to immediate attention. This center shall also serve as one-stop youth activity center in terms of lodging and recreation facilities, venue for livelihood and skills training, community service and voluntary work, and extension offices and original office of the government-led youth agency, the National Youth Commission.
What is your favorite line onto the Filipino youth? What made it significant to you?
My favorite line about the poem of Rizal entitled "To the Filipino Youth" implies a message of confidence in the first few stanzas of the poem. Confidence is the feeling or belief that someone or something is good or has the ability to succeed at something. Hold high the brow serene, O youth, where now you stand. Let the bright sheen of your grace be seen, fair hope of a fatherland.
My favorite line is, "Day, O happy day, fair Filipinas, for thy land," because it describes how proud and happy Jose Rizal for being Filipino. This is my favorite line because I am a Filipino and I know how positive Filipinos are. We are always happy and cheerful even if there's a problem.
Jose Rizal's No Limitangir was considered and used to be instrument that initiate Filipino nationalism, leading in the 1896 Filipino Revolution. It makes awaken Filipino awareness and also establish the grounds for aspiring to independence that gave us our freedom today. It mirrors creators persistent in attaining freedom from Spaniards. True enough, as Rizal aimed to redeem the country and its people by exposing the barbarity, greed, cruelty, and ignorance of the Spaniards colonizers, his work reflected the struggles of Tagalogs, being the first to projects such as bold account of living in the 80s. The Filipinos, likewise, as Nolimitangi portrays the different aspect of gaining independence. Jose Rizal focused on social climbers, abusive power, family, revolution, self-sacrifice, and purity and faithfulness.
What is your favorite line of the literary work? What made it significant to you? The best significant to me is that we need to do our own originality work and express your own learning to its issues. Most of us enjoy a good read, whether it is a novel that moves us to tears, a play that introduces, or a poem that rouses our passion. A piece of well-written literature can have an impact on our emotion, on your behavior, and our value system. There are very few of us who can recall a piece of writing verbatim. Here are a few examples. It is a far better thing than I do have ever done. It is a far better rest I go to than I have ever known.
What is your personality overall interpretation of the message to the Filipino youth?
The poems remind us that we as Filipino youth have a duty to serve our countrymen to our full extent. In order to do this, we must harness talents and skills that we have. We must also take initiative to help our country. Every one of us can be able to contribute to the better development of our country. The vision that Rizal had for our country can become a reality if and only we are remember our duty.
My interpretation of the message to the Filipino youth by Jose Rizal is that Jose Rizal is praising the rising generations or the youth. The message of this poem is to appreciate your language and what race you are and be proud of who you are.
It's about the suffering of our countrymen. We're meant to be awakened, the Filipinos, to the truth that was adversely affecting the society and which had not been talked about by the most, probably due to fear with rolling Spaniards, to the state of the country under the Spaniards as a disgrace which provided more hardship to the life of the Filipinos.
My personal overall interpretation is that every message of the issues we need to listen and carefully adapt and apply to the literary work. The poem to the Filipino youth by Dr. Jose Rizal is a message primarily to tell the importance of one's love and appreciation to his dialect or language, for it's the bridge and imagery connecting people, country to each other. In the poem, Rizal praised the rising generation.